Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Vanquish Soul deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck just got some amazing support out of Age of Overlord, giving us Vanquish Soul Jiaolong, which is such a powerful card for this deck because it's an amazing extender, which is exactly what the deck needed. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell in there so you can become part of Notification Squad, and definitely check out the Patreon in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like in your name description every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Vanquish Soul Jiaolong. This card is an amazing extender for the deck and is definitely a 3 of in this build because it has an amazing ability that if you reveal a card in your hand to activate a Vanquish Soul card or effect, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand, which is an amazing effect just to get you another copy of a Vanquish Soul monster on your side of the field. Plus, this card has a quick effect that you can activate one of these effects by revealing monsters in your hand with the listed attribute. If you reveal a fire monster, you change the battle position of one monster on the field, but if you reveal 2 fire monsters, you get to add a Vanquish Soul card from your deck to your hand, except another copy of this card, which is a crazy powerful effect to search any Vanquish Soul card that you need off this card's ability, and that's such a cool ability that it's a quick effect helping you change the battle position of your opponent's monsters during their turn. We then play 3 copies of Vanquish Soul Ryzen. Ryzen is a definite 3 of in the deck, and it's probably the best normal summon in the entire build because if this card is normal or special summon, you can add 1 non-warrior Vanquish Soul monster from your deck to your hand. Then you're going to reveal a fire monster, and this card cannot be destroyed by card effects this turn, or you can reveal a fire and a dark to destroy all the cards in this card's column, which is an amazing quick effect on this card. We then play 2 copies of DarkArmedLove. DarkArmedLove is just a really good 2 of in the deck. You always want to be normal summoning your copy of Ryzen, but this card is still really good in this build because if it's normal or special summon, you can add a Vanquish Soul spell or trap from your deck to your hand. Then you're going to reveal different attributes. If you reveal a dark, you get to target or one face-up monster that your opponent control loses 500 attack and defense. And if you reveal a dark and an earth, then return 1 monster with the lowest defense from the field to the hand, your choice if it's a tie, which is a pretty good effect to be able to use with this card. We then play just a single copy of Pantera. Pantera is just a good 1 of in the deck. I really like this card as a 1 of in the build because it is an earth that you can reveal with different effects. But if you reveal an earth monster off this card's ability, it cannot be destroyed by battle this turn. And if you reveal earth and fire, you destroy all spells and traps in this card's column, which is great to be able to pop like floodgates off the field, which is just really good. And I love this card as well in the deck because if you control no monsters in your main monster zone, you can special summon this card from your hand, which is such a cool ability just to instantly get this card on the field. We then play 3 copies of Heavy Borger. Heavy Borger is really good as a 3 of in the deck, and I absolutely love this card as a 3 of in the build because during the main phase, quick effect, you can target a non-machine Vanquish Soul monster, basically any of them besides another copy of Heavy Borger, and then you have the ability to return that card back to your hand, and if you do special summon this card from your hand, which is a great ability to help you dodge cards that target your Vanquish Soul cards like Imperm and stuff like that, to be able to make sure your effects go through while also summoning out a 2500 attack point monster. This card also has 2 really cool effects depending on the attributes that you reveal. If you reveal dark, you draw a card, which is insane because it's actually a quick effect, so you can do it during your turn and then during your opponent's turn, helping you dig into the deck for more hand traps to use during your opponent's turn. If you reveal earth and fire, inflict 1500 points of damage to your opponent, making this card a great time card just to do 1500 points of burn damage. We then play a single copy of Vanquish Soul Caesar Vallis. I only feel like you need 1 copy of this card now because we have the copies of Jiaolong, but this card is still an amazing boss monster to play in the deck, but it's searchable, which is why I've bumped this card down to 1. It has a really cool ability that during the main phase, quick effect, you can target 1 non-dragon Vanquish Soul monster, just like your copy of Borger. Then you can return that card back to the hand, and if you do, special summon this card. And it also has a really awesome effect that if you reveal an earth monster with this card's effect, this face-up card is unaffected by your opponent's activated effects this turn, which is crazy, like crazy crazy powerful. And if you reveal Earth, Fire, and Dark, then destroy one other card on the field, and it doesn't even target, it just destroys the card on the field, which is such a cool effect. I absolutely love this card in the deck as a 1-of, but I feel like 1 is enough now that we have Jiaolong at 3. We then play 3 copies of Kashtira Fenrir. Fenrir is really good in the deck as a 3-of because this card is just amazing in a lot of decks, and plus it's an Earth card that you can actually reveal, and it has a really good ability that you can actually search another Kashtira monster from your deck to your hand, and we actually do play the single copy of Riseheart in this build because Riseheart's really good in the deck because it's a fire monster that you can use to reveal in your hand for different effects. You can't just leave it in your hand if you want to, but you can also special summon it to your side of the field if you control a Kashtira monster, which can come in handy every so often, but it's a really good card in this build. We then play a single copy of Dolgaran. Dolgaran's amazing in this deck as a 1-of because you can basically tribute over your opponent's monsters and just deal with a really big monster that your opponent might have to be able to give them a copy of Dolgaran. Plus it's a fire monster, making it a really good card to be able to reveal in your hand for your Vanquish soul effects, and your copy of Mad Love can bounce it, which is really good because if it's the monster with the lowest defense, you just bounce it back to the hand and use it again. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom's really good in this deck as a 3-of because it's actually a fire, so you can reveal it with different Vanquish soul effects, which is amazing, plus it just stops your opponent from touching the deck. We then play 3 copies of DD Crow. DD Crow is amazing this format, and this card is absolutely insane in this deck because you do want to reveal dark monsters for different effects, and this card helps out a lot in this build just to stop your opponent from using graveyard effects or being able to banish something that they want in the grave. We then play 2 copies of Ghost Bell. This card is great in the deck as a 2-of because it's an Earth hand trap that we can use to reveal for different effects, making this card a great 2-of in the deck, especially to be able to deal with graveyard effects. We then play 2 copies of Karakuri. Karakuri is great in the deck as a 2-of because it is a fire monster and it just deals with your opponent's entire board all at once. This card is really good in the deck as a 2-of. You can play it just at 1 if you want to play another copy of, say, Dolgaran or another copy of Ghost Bell for another budget option, but it's still really good in this deck overall because it's an amazing fire hand trap that you can reveal off of any of your Vanquish soul effects that require fire to be able to get some really good abilities. Plus, some of the best ones in the deck, like your copy of Jiaolong and Ryzen, actually require you to reveal fire, which is why I play this card at 2, I play Ash at 3, I play the copy of Riseheart and the copy of Dolgaran, basically just to have those options if you want to, but if you want a more budget option than the copy of Karakuri, you can play another copy of Ghost Bell and just play this card at 1, or you can play 2 copies of Dolgaran and another copy of Ghost Bell if you want to for another option. So, that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Rhoda. Rhoda searches the best card in the entire deck, your copy of Ryzen, which is why we play this card as a 1-of in the build. We can also play a single copy of Durandal because we can also search Ryzen off of this card, which is such a cool ability about this card, and it basically is like playing 2 copies of Rhoda. We then play 2 copies of Vanquish Soul Continue. Continue is basically like Monster Reborn for the deck, and this card is amazing in this build as a 2-of because you can play Dust Devil, but I feel like playing this card is a little bit better because it lets you pay 500 life points and target a Vanquish Soul monster in the grave and either add it to your hand or special summon it in defense position, letting you recover an attribute that you might need to reveal for an effect, or being able to use this card to bring back a Vanquish Soul to your side of the field so you can bounce over your copy of your Caesar Vallis or your copy of Borger, which is just really good. I love this card at 2, and I never really activated Dust Devil when I had it in the deck, which is why I ended up dropping it out of the build. We then play 3 copies of Stake Your Soul. Stake Your Soul is basically the Rhoda of the deck, and this card is amazing because it lets you reveal a monster in your hand to special summon 1 Vanquish Soul monster with the same attribute but a different name from your deck, but return it to the hand during the end phase, which is an amazing ability for this card to have. This card is a definite 3 of the deck. It's one of the most powerful cards in the entire build. We then play 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity. Pot of Prosperity is just so good in this deck, just helping you dig into the deck for the exact cards that you need. It's such a powerful card. I love digging for 6, especially in this deck that doesn't really need all the cards in the extract outside of Rock of the Vanquisher. Everything else is just basically toolbox in the extract. So this card is amazing in the build as a 3-of, just to help you dig into the deck for the exact cards that you need. I absolutely love this card in the build, and if you want to, you can change it out for other budget options. I wouldn't recommend playing Extravagant, but since we do play a lot of cards at 3 in this build, you could probably play 2 copies of Pot of Desires and like an Upstart Goblin if you want to, or the copy of Dust Devil plus 2 copies of Desires, which is an option for you guys if you want to. I would not recommend Extravagance because you do need some of the cards in your extra deck though. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, guys, we're going to be playing just 3, and that's going to be 3 copies of There Can Be Only One. This card is amazing for us because this card requires that each player can only control 1 monster of each type. And if a player controls 2 or more monsters of the same type, they must send some to the graveyard so they control no more than 1 monster of each type. Every single monster in our deck is a different type. So that's super easy to play around with. Our copy of Jiaolong is like a worm. Our copy of Ryzen is a copy of a warrior. We have our copy of Rock of the Vanquisher, which is obviously a rock. Borger is a machine. Your copy of Valis is a dragon. Like, it's so easy to play around. Like, this card doesn't even affect us, which is why we play this card as a 3 of in the main, because you flip this card against some players and it just instantly ends the game, because like against Unchained, you flip this card and they can't summon anything but 1 Fiend because the entire deck is Fiend. You flip this up against like Blackwings, they can only summon 1 Blackwing to the field. Like, it's just so easy to be able to turn off an entire game with this card, which is just completely unfair. But this card is amazing in the deck because it's such a powerful card overall. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, guys, we're going to start off with 3 copies of Rock of the Vanquisher. Rock of the Vanquisher is an insane 3 of in the deck, and this card is just so good. This card is amazing because it's a Link 1 that requires 1 Vanquish Soul monster to summon this card. It cannot be used as Link material, which is fine because you want to keep it on your side of the field. And while you control a Vanquish Soul monster, your opponent's monsters can only target monsters that you control with the highest attack for attacks, which is amazing to be able to do, and also has the ability that during the main phase, quick effect, you can activate one of these effects, which is really cool, to special summon a Vanquish Soul monster from your hand to start swarming the field, or add a Vanquish Soul monster from your grave to your hand, which is great because you basically make this card, and then once you do, you just grab whatever you made it with back out of the graveyard, which is just such a cool ability. And then during the opponent's turn, you just special summon out whatever you just brought back to your hand, which is just so cool. This card is definitely a 3 of in the build. You don't always go into 3, but it's really good in the deck. We then play a single copy of Underworld Goddess. This card is just an option if you need to out a boss monster that your opponent has on the field. 1 copy of Nightmare Phoenix. This card pops spells and traps, which is again a good option. Play a single copy of SP Little Knight. SP Little Knight is insane in this deck and is pretty much good in just about any deck. And it's very, very, very easy to make. This card is amazing in this build and is such a powerful card overall, because if this card is link summoned using a Fusion, Synchro, Eggsy, or Link monster as material, then you can target 1 card on the field or in either player's graveyard and banish it. Also, your monsters cannot attack directly this turn. Then if your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, you can target 2 face-up monsters on the field, including a monster that you control, and banish them until the end phase, which is a really awesome effect to be able to use with this card. Basically just to banish 2 cards off the field, which is just super, super cool about this card. I absolutely love it, and it's super easy to make in this build. I absolutely love summoning this card to my side of the field, and it's just a really powerful 1 of in this deck. We then play a single copy of Security Dragon. Security Dragon is great in this deck overall as a 1 of because it's so easy to make. Because basically what you do with this card is, if it's linked once while this card is face up on the field, if this card is co-linked, then you can target a monster, or target 1 monster that your opponent controls and return it back to the hand, which is a really cool ability to be able to use with this card to basically instantly get the exact thing that you need on your side of the field bounced, or off your opponent's side of the field bounced, which is just such a cool ability about this card. And I love this card in the deck basically just as a 1 of, as an option, because it just requires any 2 monsters to make this card. We then play a single copy of IP. IP is just a good option in the deck to be able to make your copy of SP Little Knight, because you can make this card so easy in the deck. We then play a single copy of Baron de Fleur. Baron de Fleur is really easy to make in the deck. deck, which is why we play this card as a one-of. It's just, again, another option if you can summon it. We play a single copy of Bagooska. Bagooska is also really good in this deck as a one-of because it's, again, very easy to make. One copy of Abyss Dweller. Abyss Dweller is awesome in this deck as a one-of to be able to just shut down graveyards. One copy of Chalkanine because you make this card to be able to make Zeus. You make a copy of Borbo on top of it to be able to make a copy of Zeus really big, which is really nice. We play a single copy of Sky Crisis because, again, it's insane. This card is one of the cards I would highly recommend that you play in just about every single extra deck because it's very easy to make and just gets rid of cards off the field. We then finally play a single copy of Double A Zeus. Double A Zeus is very easy to make in this build because you just basically make your copy of Chalkanine and then your copy of Borbo to be able to just go in for game. And another option for you guys, if you want to, I couldn't find the room, maybe drop the copy of Phoenix out if you want to drop your copy of Phoenix out of the deck to be able to play it, is a single copy of Dark Armed, the Dragon of Annihilation. You can drop the copy of Phoenix if you want to for this, or the copy of Underworld Goddess, one of those two cards to make this card, because if you summon Fenrir to your side of the field, once you summon the copy of Fenrir, you can search your copy of your Rise Heart, then summon Rise Heart to your side of the field, banish a copy of Fenrir from the deck, and then turn it into a level 7, also banishing the top 3 of your opponent's deck, and then make this card to be able to pop 2 cards on the field, but it cannot attack, which is a little bit of a downside, which is why I dropped it out of the deck. But it's a really good option if you want to, because it can pop cards off the field, and I almost dropped Phoenix for this card. So you can drop Phoenix if you want to. The reason I kept the Phoenix in here is because it's just a good option over it, because it's so generic that you can make it the same way without even basically banishing a card from deck. So you can make it if you want to, but it is a good option to be able to play a rank 7 in here if you want to, over the Underworld Goddess or the copy of the Phoenix. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy this. This is a really fun deck to be able to play. If you guys have never played a Vanquish Soul before, you should definitely give this deck a try because it's so fun to be able to play. It's absolutely insane now that we have Jiao Long, and it's just such a fun deck. I absolutely love playing this deck because it's just a really cool deck because it's basically like a fighting game, which is just super, super cool. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.